Welcome to the Radical Success Podcast, where we focus on internal transformation to experience external results. I'm your host and coach, Doreen Rainey. Join me each week for insightful messages and powerful interviews to equip you to take bold, courageous, and radical action to live the life you want and deserve. Hey there, welcome to the latest episode. I am Doreen Rainey, your radical success coach, and I cannot contain my excitement for this incredible woman that is joining me on this podcast today. But before I bring her on, I just want to remind you that if you have not grabbed your seat, if you have not reserved your spot, if you have not registered for the Radical Success Intensive, what are you waiting for? This is an incredible 3-day event where we come together and I walk you through the concepts and strategies and insights that help you define success for yourself and get the guts to go after it. And so maybe you're not sure if this is the event for you. And so I just want to share with you the type of person that benefits the most from joining me at the intensive. And so if you are a high goals, self-starter, ready to take bold action, then this is the place for you. If you are a purpose-driven go-getter, who knows you are destined for greater success and just need a roadmap, just need a little bit more clarity, just need a little bit more insight and information, then this is the place for you. If you've had some goals and maybe you've been struggling to implement them, or maybe you're challenged with staying consistent, what we talk about when it comes to our mindset, behaviors, and habits will definitely help you move past those types of roadblocks. And if you are committed and focused on maximizing this opportunity called life, then you definitely want to be a part of the Radical Success Intensive. It is a one-of-a-kind experience where you'll have candid, straightforward, and open dialogue about your unconscious and conscious beliefs. And you'll have an opportunity to get to know you in a way that you've never done before, so that you can embrace your authentic goals, understand your core values and belief systems, and then move forward in powerful action. And so you can get all the details on our website at Radical Success Intensive. And I look forward to having you join me in June. And now I want to introduce to you this incredible guest that I have today. Chief BOSSpreneur Becky A. Davis is known as the entrepreneur's secret weapon for her straightforward coaching skills that develop individuals into well-rounded business owners. Becky works as a business growth guide where she comes alongside of business owners to create growth strategies and accountability. She is the founder of the BOSSpreneur Business Circle, a networking membership platform dedicated to the advancement of women-owned businesses. She's a member of the Forbes Magazine Coaches Council, official entrepreneur coach for Odyssey Media Company, executive coach for Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit, and national entrepreneur spokesperson for the Coca-Cola Company's Woman 5x20 initiative. Becky is one of the most in-demand experts for small business and leadership. She's been featured in media outlets including ABC, Fox, Forbes, Essence, Black Enterprise, Associated Press, and Huffington Post. She's a sought-after speaker and the author of 7 books. So please give a radical welcome to my podcast guest for today, Becky A. Davis. Hi, Becky.
How are you doing, Miss Doreen?
I'm doing amazing. So excited to have you join this podcast conversation. I know we've been talking about having you on, and so it's very exciting that we actually have you scheduled and you're here, and we're going to have a powerful conversation today.
And I'm super excited too. I was just excited leading up to this time. I was like, oh, it's today. Yeah.
I shared with our listeners, the formal bio, what Becky Davis has accomplished and done. But I want to hear from you in your words about your journey and what has prompted you to arrive to the place that you are today doing the work that you do.
Well, my journey started in corporate America. I worked in corporate America for over 20 years, and I've always worked in retail management. And it was something about that field that one of the things I realized with retail, you love it or you hate it. And I was one of those that actually fell in love with retail and leading people. And so I managed teams for over 20 years in the retail space, and I really enjoyed it. It allowed me to use a lot of the skills and the gifts that I had of teaching and coaching and training. And I didn't even know they were real gifts until I was working in corporate America, and those things just kind of raised to the surface and really helped me to elevate within the corporate arena. And consistently on an average of 2.5 years I was being promoted to the next level. And so that was really kind of my foundation. And one of the things that I realized is, the company had me going all over the place, training other regions, other VPs, other directors, and still having to manage my area and territory and keep it above the expectation. And I realized then that there was some gifting that I had that I really had not acknowledged or tapped into. Sometimes you just work and think you just working, oh, you're getting some accolades. Okay, that's good. But I actually sat and thought, wow, they think a lot about the work that I do. Why don't I? And that was kind of started my aha moment of why was I not looking at it? And I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and that became game changer for me because I knew then what I was good at. I knew what my skill was, and knew my purpose was it was somewhere in the teaching area. And I was like, wow, I'm cutting myself short. And so that's when I kind of started the transition into, okay, I want to start my own business. I want to do this for myself. And it really kind of took me being pushed to actually get there, because I was working an exit strategy, and each year it got another year was added on. I'm going to leave next year. Well, next year I'll leave. And 3 years later, I was still saying next year. But after having a medical emergency, in a situation where I almost lost my life, and then in the hospital, in the recovery room, really realizing that tomorrow was not promised to me. And I keep pushing off what I was supposed to be doing today. I kept pushing it off because I was really fearful and scared to take the leap. I was scared to lose my paycheck. I was making a nice 6-figure salary. And for a girl who went to college and left college and got married before she graduated, that was a weight that I drug it around forever, that you have to work really hard, Becky. You didn't finish school. You have to work really hard. And so to leave a 6-figure salary and saying, what if this doesn't work out? I was really fearful. But that experience of almost losing my life was really my come to Jesus moment, and my submitting and obedience moment that, okay, I am going to do it. Because I know that for me as a believer, that was something that I was supposed to do. God made it very clear, but I was scared. But once I took the leap, oh my goodness, Doreen, everything
Right.
in my life changed. Everything. I was still fearful,
I
but
know.
I was still willing to move in the fear.
Right, right. And everything that you just shared, I want to just unpack it a little bit to make sure that our listeners don't miss all of the nuggets that you just shared in talking about your journey. And the first thing is you talked about being promoted like every 2.5 years
Mm-hmm.
over the course of, a decade or longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was it that they recognized in you that you believe caused that to happen? What was it in the way that you were showing up that had them take notice and say, yes, she's the one?
You know, one of the things that I had one of my managers said to me, and it has stuck with me since the day he said it. He said, Becky, you have this uncanny ability to take an ordinary person and make them achieve extraordinary results. I've never seen anything like it. And that was that. And he told me that I was probably 4 years into my career with the company. I still didn't get that for another 10 years. That the ability to be able to, and my mother told me when I was a little girl, you need to teach. You're always telling people what to do. But I was like, I don't want to be a teacher because in my mind, a teacher was, I didn't want to be in a classroom. That's not what I want to do with my life. But I had no idea that teaching comes in many different forms. And so what I was able to do in corporate America was, and realized that my skill and giftingness was, I was able to take people who might not have believed in themselves or was an average performer, and be able to coach, encourage, and develop them, give them the tools that they needed to take the action steps. Because I used to always tell my managers, you know, I'm going to love with both hands around. One hand is going to push you and you're going to hate me, and the other hand is going to put arms around you and love on you, but you're going to get both of the hands. And so really learning that that was a part of my giftedness that I just did not see, or maybe I saw it and just didn't believe that it was, okay, I hear what they're saying, but they might just be saying that, you know, we don't accept the goodness about us. We don't accept the areas where we are great. We don't just embrace them. It takes some things that we have to go through to get to the place for me to say, okay, Becky, you darn good at what you do. And it took a minute. It took a minute to get there, Doreen. It felt uncomfortable even saying it's okay to be great.
Right, right. You know, what I find that's so insightful about that is my message around radical success is really about defining success for yourself, getting the guts to go after it, having an internal transformation that leads to external results. And all of that is tied in to understanding what your purpose is, because that will help you determine what your success looks like, what's authentic for you. And I talk a lot about the
Mm-hmm.
fact that purpose is not an occupation, it's not a job, it's not something you do, it's actually who you be.
Oh, that's
And
good.
when your boss told you that, so tell us again, what was it that your boss said to you?
He said that you have the ability to take ordinary people and help them to achieve extraordinary results.
Right. And so that is your purpose. And so
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee that if you look back to things that you did before that and things that you've done after that, that has always shown up. So whether you were a teacher, whether you volunteered for an organization or a nonprofit, whether you did something at your church, whether you're just hanging out with friends, I guarantee you that that thing that has been purposed in you shows up in any
Mm.
environment.
You know what? You're 100% right. That's what tends to happen with the people that I work with my team, with the women in the organization, the entrepreneurs that I work with. It happens over and over. You are 100% right.
Right. And so for you listeners out there who are wondering, what's my purpose? You know, what should I be doing? Stop asking yourself, what should you be doing? And start asking, who do I be? What
That's
shows
good.
up no matter what? Because that's where you find your purpose. And once you have your purpose, you now get to decide how you want to use that purpose. And you've chosen to move out of corporate America with that purpose
Mm-hmm.
into your own business, fear and all.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and all. And so what was it that helped you manage the fear as you moved into this next phase?
Doreen, one of the things that, after the near-death experience, the one thing that grew in that moment was my faith. And so it was really the first time that I really, my faith was stronger than my fear, strong enough for me to step out without knowing what is going to happen, if money was coming, if it wasn't coming, when it was enough for me to just say, I'm going to step out and I will do all of the things that I know to do. And I believe that the other things would reveal themselves to me along the journey. So my job was to just act on and to take steps. And that's what I did. I was acting and taking steps. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I tried to learn the things that I didn't know. I sought help, immediately when I became an entrepreneur. I even before, while I was still in corporate America, I hired my first coach while I was in corporate America, which was probably the best thing I ever did because it gave me an insight in what the business and the industry would be like. And I remember thinking, man, what if I would have launched and didn't know this? I would have had to learn all of this, once I launched. So I was getting some information and some help before I actually left corporate America. And then once I left, I was like, okay, I know I need some help to kind of build this out. So I hired a coach, like 2 months after I started. I hired someone to kind of help me on this journey, because coming out of corporate America, being able to ensure that all my managers had mentors, that they were getting their coaching, because I knew the most successful people within the organization had help. They had sponsors, they had mentors, they were being coached. And I wanted to make sure that I took the steps to help my managers. So I knew, Becky, you need help. And so I sought help through the process to help me move my business forward, fearful and all. I made some dumb mistakes. I spent money the wrong way. It was all kind of stuff that was going on, but I just refused to give up. It was like, okay, I learned from that. Won't do that again, but still willing to move in it and figure it out along the way. That was one of the things that was really important to me. And I really am thankful for my experience in corporate America, because some of the structures that worked for me there, I had to learn the difference between the two. I had to stop acting with a total corporate mentality, because it worked totally different as an entrepreneur. And it took me a minute to figure that part of it out. But some of the things that in corporate America helped to shape me for really starting and running a business, and especially in operations and retail, I had to do strategy for my territory based on the numbers that the company gave. I had to take those numbers, divide them into 12 different regions, and then come up with what their focus and goals were, and then put the strategy together on how my territory was going to get there, and have my team put the strategies on how they were going to get there. When I started my business, I started with a strategy. I started with a plan on this is how to get here. I need to take these steps. I need to see this many people. And I realized when I got in business and started working with entrepreneurs, that's rare. I didn't know it.
Right.
I did not know that.
Right. Well, there's a couple of things I think that we can take away from what you just shared. The first part was getting a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, because we live in the information age, because we live in a Google world, and because we live in a world where people can sometimes be convinced that things are easier because of easy entryway, easy access to free tools and resources.
Yeah.
And so I think that the benefit of a coach sometimes gets lost, and the benefit of preparation sometimes gets lost. We live in this hustle, grind, go for it.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that you don't ever stop. and assess and learn and study. And I believe that, when you talk about a coach, or when you talk about learning or positioning yourself to take the next step, there's so many avenues that you can utilize. And
Mm-hmm.
so whether it's the book, you talked about how the book changed your perspective. So all my listeners, if you aren't reading, something's missing. You
Right.
talked about having a coach. So for my listeners, if you don't have a coach, something's missing. You talked about having a mentor, because a coach and a mentor, a lot of times, are two different things. So if you don't have a mentor, there's something missing. And even under all of those areas, there are a variety of different ways to work with a coach, to have a coach. Some people have coaches that are all virtual. They just stay on top of reading and what they're doing and following them and learning from them. And then other people engage highly strategic coaches for where they are, working one-on-one. But all of it is important. And when you decide that you want to do something big, step out of corporate America, start your business, become an entrepreneur, like you said, the number of people who didn't take the time to put a plan together, to put a strategy together, they will ultimately suffer in the long
Mm-hmm.
run. And
Exactly.
so when we decided that I'm doing this thing, I've got the coaching, I've got the mentors, I'm moving forward. Yes, wasteful money, wasting money, making mistakes,
Yes.
having the challenges. I remember a client, this was years ago, a client said to me, I'm so excited to work with you because I don't want to waste any money in my business. And my response to her was, oh, sweetie. Listen.
I know, baby, I'm gonna help you cut some corners, but listen, you're gonna make some mistakes.
Right. You're gonna lose some money.
Yes.
You're going to make the wrong choice. You're going to invest in something you think is going to produce amazing results, and then it's not. I mean, that is part of the journey. It's part of the process. And so from the wasted money, from the missteps or the things that you tried and didn't quite work out, what would you say were some of the lessons that you took away from that?
One of the things I had to learn was I did I went through Gallup to be certified as an entrepreneur coach, to be able to do an entrepreneur assessment of 10 talents that successful entrepreneurs have. I love the information, and I was like, oh, I want to get certified in this because I want to be able to help entrepreneurs in this. And to, of course, do certification, you have to go through the program yourself. So when I was going through the program, and I got my 10 talents, the highest of the top 10, my top 3, one was risk. And so as I'm talking to the coach who is coaching me on my talents, she was like, risk, relationships, determination is your top 3. And she said, Becky, that's a big part of why your business has done well in the short amount of time you've been in business, because you're not afraid of risk. You are great at building relationships, and you're determined. You will not quit. And I was like, oh, I was all excited. It's like, yeah, okay. Then she said, well, here's a caution. And she said, because risk is number 1 for you. You've lost some money, haven't you? I just looked at her. I just looked at her. Doreen, I was like, how does she know? I was like, yeah. And she was like, and you will continue to lose money, she said, because you having risk, it is great. It is a strength. But here's the blind spots that come with being a risk taker. You won't think through all of the information. You'll just see it. It looks good and you jump in. And she was 100% right. She was 100% right. So the thing, when I was really losing and making mistakes, it was because I wasn't taking the time to look at the big picture, to process, give myself some time. I would just think, oh my goodness, I need this. I'm doing it. It's going to help me. And it was always up under the umbrella. It was going to be educational for me. It was training. It was learning. It was all of that. And it was, sometimes just really throwing money away. So big lesson for me is when something comes in, before I make a decision, I have to sit with that thing. I made it you are not going to make a quick snap decision. You have to sit with that thing, unless the thing in your gut you feel like is a God nudge that says, I need you to act right now. Then I will. But because my normal tendency is to act too quickly, I had to make it a part of my process to wait, think through, strategize, then make a decision. And I haven't made as many of those mistakes and lost nearly as much money, because now I think through it and don't just jump in.
Right. And so, Becky, tell us about your business.
That's my baby right there. I'm so excited to get to wake up every day with a smile on my face, to be able to spend time working with and creating ways for women to start their business, grow their business, accelerate their business, which is where my sweet spot is. I have a membership. It's called the BOSSpreneur Business Circle. It is a platform for women, and my predominantly target market is African American women business owners, because there's a lot of things that African American women face as business owners. We are the largest growing group of entrepreneurs. I think the last research said from 2008 to 2018, so within a 10-year time frame, 164% growth, whereas just women-owned businesses was 58%, but African-American women business owners was like 164%. And so to be able to put together a group of women, and it's really because we all need help along the way, along this entrepreneur journey. And there's a huge gap for African-American women in starting their business and then really being able to generate revenue from their business, because African-American women-owned business, and for 2018, $66,000 is the average amount that comes into a business owned by African-American women, whereas in any other minority is $212,000. That's a huge gap. And one of the biggest things that lead to that is two things: funding and lack of resources. And so the BOSSpreneur Business Circle is there to be able to provide resources, to be able to provide connections, partnerships, and we're currently working on funding. We've identified a lady who has an organization that really focuses on helping African American women to get funding, and so I'm excited because that'll be something that we add to help our members with the funding part of it. But I get to spend this time with these amazing ladies to be able to provide, in my sweet spot, the training and development, taking ordinary people who have a business or a dream for a business and helping them to achieve extraordinary results. That's what I love doing.
Yes, I love it. And I will say that, I've been to, you have events and all those kinds of things. And I went to one of the events, and let me tell you, you are killing the game, girl. And the information that gets shared, the women there who come in needing, right? Needing to understand, how do I make this thing work? How do I grow? How do I increase my bottom line? What blind spots do I have? What am I missing? To come into your space, to come in to your membership and actually get the answers they need and then make progress with it is enormous. And it is one of the things I know makes you smile, but it's also, I'm sure, for the people you serve, puts a smile on their face as well.
Yes.
And so as you work with these women, I am a believer that success happens when you have the literal and you also have the internal working at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so as a coach myself, one of the things that has really shifted my focus in my business this last year or so is watching people get the information, watching them take notes, read the book, get the coach, create the strategy, write out the action plan, get the tools that they need to execute,
Mm-hmm.
and then not do.
Girl, do you know, Doreen, that situation exists in any area of business? Because in corporate America and in entrepreneurship, I've seen the exact same thing. And it's the thing that I believe, for me, it's a game changer piece for those. When we think about people who are successful, there is a component that successful people do that the people who are seeking this success and not getting there, they're missing that piece, and it's the not do piece. It's missing. It's like, I've done this and I've done that. Well, Becky, I mean, I'm trying to, but the not doing piece. In corporate America, we had conferences every year for all of our leadership teams. So 3,500 people would, come into whatever city they had us in, 3,500 leaders within our organization. And we would get this amazing training. The company spared no cost for the people they brought in to train us. And we would be at the conference for 4 days, 45 days. We're at this conference. And it was always take the information back to your area. So guess what I would do? I'd get the information, I'd schedule a meeting with all of my team, and I would filter the information I learned. I'd give it right back to my team. What, unbeknownst to me, out of my territory of 17 other leaders, why was I the only one doing that? The doing part stopped. They had the information, they had the training, they got everything that I got, they got all of that information, but would never do anything with that information. And I see the same thing in entrepreneurship with business owners. They go, they get the information, they come to the conferences, they take notes, they go home and they write down what the plan is going to be and the steps that they're going to take. And they might take one step and then they stop. And then it takes them forever to take the next step or the next step. And then the excuses start to come. And then we think, well, that didn't work. No, you didn't work it.
Right.
You got to work it.
Yes. And not only did you not work it, now you think it's time to go find something else to do to help you complete what that other thing you thought was going to help you do it, not do it because you didn't do it.
You're so right. That's exactly it. Well, I need some help. No, work the one you have. Work it until you see it doesn't work. And for me, that's one of the things I've learned is if I'm investing money in anything, until I have tested it and walked all the way through the process, then I can say, you know what, that didn't work. But if I don't take it through that process, then Becky, it's your fault. You didn't work it. So you lost because you didn't work it. So until you work that, you're not going to get a result. Work it first.
Right, exactly. And if you aren't working it, then there's something else at play. If you know that you are supposed to, make a list of 20 people, pitch these 20 people, send an email or make a phone call, and you don't, there's something else at play. If you know that you were just told the process for creating your proposals and connecting with companies or government agencies that are seeking your type of services, and you now know the process for submitting the proposals and how to follow up, and then you don't do it, there's something else at play.
Yeah.
And you talked earlier about the fear, that I'm going to leave next year. And then it was, okay, I'm going to leave next year. And then I'm going to leave next year. And then even making the transition inside of fear. And so there's something in our mindset DNA that stops us from acting even when we know what to do. And if you aren't willing to pause and ask yourself, what are the thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, habits, mindset that is stopping me? Because I have the marketing email right here. I have the sales script right here. I have the template for the proposal right here. I've gotten 3 people who said, hey, give me a call, and I haven't called them. So the bigger question is, what is at play? And as you work with these entrepreneurs, is that something that you see as well?
Yes, definitely. And and even in myself, I've had to ask those questions at times when I'm like, okay, why are you in this funk? Why are you stuck? And then when I sit in like, so Becky, what is it really? It's always something with me, but for me, I have to put my finger on what is it. And I remember at one time I had read, I think I had listened to a video or something you did, Doreen, because it was specifically something you said a few years ago. You were talking about selling. And you said something about, getting on a sales call and going through all of the things that you're able to help people with, but you never ask for the sale. And I was like, ooh, oh, she right. Or you need more business, but you're not making any phone calls to get any of the business. And that resonated with me. And I was like, oh my goodness. All right. So why are you not closing the sale? Coming out of the sales industry, why are you not closing the sale? When I realized and admitted to myself, I felt good with selling products, but I struggled to sell me as a product. So I wouldn't close this sale. Then I had to shift that whole thought process, and for me to be able to close the sale, ask for the sale, or even say, well, what's stopping you from moving forward? What is it that you feel you need before you move forward? I would say that in retail, but I wouldn't say it for myself in business. That was like, Becky, what is, and it was that I had to deal with my own internal stuff to really move that barrier out of the way for me to actually start to ask for the sale, or over whatever the objection to the sale was to ask another question to the individual. And so I had this thing in my head. I didn't want to anyone to be pushy. I didn't want to feel pushy. I didn't want them to think, oh, she's trying, all of that stuff. And it was all stuff that I was making up in my head, but I made it up in my head. And those things that's internal inside of us can stop the steps that we need to take for success in business. A lot of people have things in place, but then there's that internal thing that you need to address and deal with and break up so that you can move forward. Sometimes it's the alignment of what you believe, and you don't even know that that's what it is because you haven't even investigated it. You're just not doing something. That's where that, for me, that internal alignment, the alignment with who I am and what I bring to the table, and getting to a place of acceptance of myself and what I bring to the table, and that I'm good enough to sit at the table. All of those things are mental things that we have to own, and we have to get a hold of and realize that they are there. That's why I think people that are successful at a whole nother level, they deal with those things.
Right. And I would venture to say that if these things are showing up in your business or in your professional career, it's probably showing up someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you are out there thinking about, getting out of debt, building some wealth, making wiser decisions with your money, and you've read the books and you've done the research and you've done the Google stuff and you've gotten a plan together, and yet you still spend money you don't have, and yet still delay paying bills on time, which means there are late fees associated with that. You have to begin to ask yourself the question, what's going on the inside of me? What is my money story? Like you talked about not being comfortable selling yourself. Okay, so what's the money story that has you uncomfortable with building wealth and getting out of debt?
Yes.
You can look at your relationships. If you have friendships or significant others, and there is things in that relationship that aren't serving you, and I need to better communicate. You need to set boundaries. You need to have difficult conversations, and yet you don't. what is that internal alignment that you haven't dealt with?
Mm.
And so it's all across the board. It's not just something that could be related to your business. It's probably showing up in other places as well.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah, I know for me, that's exactly what it's been. And until I address it in one area, then it opens up to this is just a part of myself that I need to work on, period, that I need to address and deal with and come to grips with, and then make changes if I need to be able to move forward and do things differently, especially when you think about wealth and financial wealth and what the hang up is there, or why do I see it this way and not this way, or why am I stuck here? All of those questions, to be able to ask those questions to ourselves so that we can get to a whole nother level as an individual. That opens up the success externally for business.
Yes. And the willingness to explore the deep, dark, sometimes not so pretty places that
Mm-hmm.
we were hoping would just stay buried while we thought we could work our way to the success that we're looking for, as opposed to finally dealing with some of those areas in our lives so that we can flow into the success that we were created for.
Ooh, girl, you talking now. That is so good.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, I'm all for work, but I'm better with flow.
Yeah, but Doreen, you're so right. Sometimes we just, if I work, then it's going to come. But not realizing that there's other pieces. You can work yourself to death and still feel like, why am I not? Because why am I not getting to the place where I want to be? Because we haven't addressed the things that we need to address. We haven't looked. I know Iyanla Van Zant always says, it's never fun to touch the sore places, but you got to touch them.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly.
Mm,
And once you do that, the possibilities become endless.
yeah.
And having been able to work through some of that and watch your business grow and develop, what have been some of the highlights for you as an entrepreneur? What have you just like taken a step back when you look at some of the things you've done and accomplished inside of this journey of entrepreneurship? What have been a few things that you've been like, man, this is amazing? What have been some highlights for you?
So there's a few things. So most recent, a highlight for me, in a place where I just sat back and in a space of gratitude, a place of acceptance, but I was also in a place of I belong to. I had the opportunity to participate and speak at Disney's Dreamers Academy with some the amazing people that I have looked up to and followed for years, and to be able to work with and be in partnership was just really amazing. The experience itself was amazing, but as I sat there in a place of a mental space of saying, a lot of times we go into places and we was like, oh my, I can't believe that I'm here, and I don't even know if I deserve this. I didn't have any of those thoughts. It was the thoughts of, I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. I'm here because I have something to offer. I'm here because I can be able to impart and bless those that are around me while they blessed me as I'm around them. And so that was a great place for me to be, because I would say, it hadn't been too long when I would say, oh my goodness, I can't even believe this. And those moments are surreal, but I've changed the verbiage. It's not that I can't believe it. I can believe it, that I'm here. I'm just in awe that it's happened. Because it's things that I've asked for, that I've desired. So that was a really big highlight for me in business. Another big highlight for me is being in partnership with the Coca-Cola company. Being in business, I was in business a little over a year and a half when I partnered with Coca-Cola and started doing some work for them as a part of their small business and women's initiative, and to be the spokesperson of their entrepreneurship initiative. That is just like, I still smile every time. Every time I walk into that building, I still smile to have worked with such an amazing organization that does some amazing work with women entrepreneurs and have helped open some amazing doors for me and the work that I do with women entrepreneurs. That has been a huge highlight for me on this journey. But I would say the most important highlight for me on this journey is the faces and the results of the women that I have been able to come in contact with, and to be a part of help on their journey. Anytime they experience a win, a success, I get like that. That's my high. I mean, I might as well be smoking crack when somebody called with a success story. I mean, I'm floating. I am on top of the world. That brings me so much joy. That, I mean, I literally, like, Becky, go to sleep, calm down, because it excites me to see when other women win. That just really, really excites me. But I would say those are the top three that I can think of.
Right, with many more to come, I'm sure.
I
So
believe
tell
it.
us, what do you have coming up next, and how can people connect with you?
Well, we are expanding our Bosspreneur Business Circle. So we are on tour. We're going out. We've been doing them in Atlanta, our networking events. We do them in Atlanta every other month. And we decided we were going to get outside of Atlanta, and because the community is building all around. So we were like, okay, we're going to come to some of the cities where we have a lot of people that are like, when are you guys coming? So we're going to North Carolina on May 2nd, and then we're going to Nashville, Tennessee, and on June the 29th, and then we'll also be going to Birmingham, Alabama in August. We hadn't set the date in Birmingham yet, but we're getting out and we're going to some of these cities and towns to continue to help women, African-American women of color, with creating a community and a network that will support and encourage and provide training and resources to help them elevate and grow in business. That's kind of what we're working on right now, is continuing to build a community. But you can find us at the BosspreneurBusinessCircle.com, or you can go to BeckyADavis.com, and any of my social sites will be under Bosspreneur, and we can connect socially there as well.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up this wonderful conversation, can you share with us your favorite quote, favorite mantra that not just encourages or inspires you, but it's really something that you stand on and you live on, and that always gets you in that place where you know that you're living out your purpose and your dream?
You know, one of my favorite ones is from Nelson Mandela, who said, it always seems impossible until it's done. And so in any aspect of my life, whether it's in my relationship with my husband, my kids, working in the church, working on my business, anytime there's something that's like, wow, this is a lot, I think of, Becky, it always seems like it's impossible. But when it's done, you never, ever think about all of the stuff that it took to get there. You enjoy the success. So when I get in that place, it helps me to know, no, if you're going to live this purpose that God has given you on this design assignment, it's always going to seem impossible until it's done.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Becky, for being a part of the Radical Success Podcast. I am always inspired every time I cross your path, have a conversation, or connect in any way. And so I appreciate you, and I look forward to catching up with you at one of your upcoming Bosspreneur events.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ditto. The same thing, Doreen. I appreciate every time we have an interaction. I always come away enlightened and inspired to keep on this journey. You have been an amazing what do you say? You have no idea from a distance how much you've helped, how much you've helped me along this journey to be able to see someone doing what you do at the level in which you do it, and we need that as African American women. Seeing another woman doing that just excites me. So I'm excited for you, and I know there's even more amazing things that's going to happen in your life. Just know you got a cheerleader.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. And yes, we cheer each other on.
Yes.
So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Great talking with you, Becky.
Thank you, Doreen.
Thanks for listening to the Radical Success Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, stay radical.